How's it going, guys? And welcome to your Smackdown review. And, while I'll admit that this show was better than last week's show, I wasn't bored to tears. I wasn't cringing every moment. But, this is the last show before Survivor Series. And I talked about, Survivor Series used to be such a big moment for the WWE. You think back to all the past Survivor Series. You think back to, one of the most controversial moments in WWE history, Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart. A year later, The Rock winning the WWE title for the first time. And we're talking about Rock 25. This is the 25th anniversary from when one of the greatest superstars of all time, in my opinion, my second favorite wrestler of all time, The Rock, debuted at Survivor Series. And I don't think they really treat the Survivor Series the same way it was treated back in 1996. And that's when they were struggling. Definitely not struggling now. Say what you will, but this company is making a ton of money. And anyway, so let's get into the show here. So we start off with the Usos. Before they introduce Reigns, they talk about their tag team matches coming up at Survivor Series with Randy Orton and Riddle. And the Usos, they come on Raw to attack Big E, but they don't even do anything, no interaction with Randy Orton and Riddle, which is weird. At least I didn't see it. Was there something like that? It wasn't even mentioned. So I guess not. There was no retaliation, so I don't think so. Instead, they're I get, you want to have them, they're going to be involved in the Roman Reigns storyline, but couldn't they have done both? And plus, this invading of the shows, as we're later going to see when Big E pays it all back at the end of the show. How is this brand extension still a thing? How are they still continuing on with the draft? They just had a draft, and we've had all these cuts. If there's ever been a time, not to do a Raw versus SmackDown, this would definitely be the time. I mean, you could tell they really struggled to put these teams together. These teams, you're looking at these teams and you don't have a lot of main eventers on these teams. Remember when it just used to be the very best, and you just have these amazing teams full of main eventers and former world champions, people in the main events. Once in a while you get a mid-carder, but these were usually, pretty beefy Survivor Series tag matches, But of course, this is just, they got to do Raw versus SmackDown. There's no way they could skip it this year. They just have to do it. And even though it's not the best idea to do it, they're going to do it anyway. So we're probably going to end up, I'm sure we're going to get a few good matches out of it. I'm sure it's not going to be the worst pay-per-view ever. But, come on. Is there anything that's going to happen that's substantial? Maybe Brock Lesnar might appear at the end of the Roman Reigns Big E match, which I really hope that they do. At least do something to, set this show apart from just being Raw versus SmackDown. But anyway, let's focus on the show itself, because we will be reviewing Survivor Series. Unfortunately indeed. Anyway, so, obviously I'll get to that when that show comes about, which will be tomorrow, because we're making this video on Saturday. Lucky me. I just feel like I'm obligated to do it at this point. But, like I said, I'm sure it's not going to be a terrible show. I'm sure I'm not going to suffer through it. But, it's not really the type of show where I'm, there's nothing on the line on it. Just pride is on the line. Ooh, that's some high stakes you got there, buddy. Anyway, so let's get back into this show. So we've got the Usos introducing Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns comes out and says that he doesn't need to be the king. He doesn't need, apparently they stole the throne, the scepter, and the cape, not just the crown. We thought that he just stole the crown. No, he stole all the little gimmicks. So Xavier comes out and says, he was hoping that Reigns would face him tonight one-on-one, and be a man about it. And he'd show him who the true king was. And then the Usos and Roman just proceed to destroy all his shit. Which was like making me happy. Like, they're supposed to be heels and we're supposed to be like, oh my God, they're destroying all his prized possessions. And Xavier Woods, he's trying to kind of hide the fact that he's not getting annoyed by this. And Reigns was very good in this segment, like showing like, oh, you don't care about this stuff. And then they break this and one of the Usos blows his nose in the cape. And it's like, yeah, like who really gives a shit about any of this stuff? But once Reigns is about to do something to the crown, Xavier can't take it anymore. My crown! He runs into the ring and he gets his ass kicked. Like, why should it be that satisfying that a baby face is getting beaten down? But it is. Why? Because it's so stupid. Then Reigns just crushes his crown, showing that crown is like, a true king's crown would not crush under a boot like that. And I'm just saying to myself, wow, like, first of all, that was like a Burger King crown. That was just like a really hard plastic, I'm guessing, or something like that. It just like caved inward. But I'm like, oh, good. I hope that's the end. I hope that he doesn't come out, next week and he's got all, new trimmings or like some updated king outfit. Just get rid of all that goofballery already. Just take that shit to the dumpster already. Like, that's why it's so satisfying seeing him get beat down. Because he's such an annoying character and the gimmick is so annoying. It was actually refreshing to see him come out as his old self. If he has to be there, I'd rather him be his old self instead of doing this stupid-ass king gimmick that's been done 1,000 times. I mean, that's the thing. What's so crazy. It's like they're going back to a gimmick that has been done for decades. And it was up to a point where WWE realized that it was super lame, and they retired that crown gimmick. They got rid of that. They like to talk about Stone Cold at King of the Ring 1996 and have Cringy Lynch reciting his promo, but like they don't even realize that was the end of the crown. But they went back to it. They had to go back to it because this was Xavier's dream. It was his dream to look like a goof on national TV. I guess so. I mean, he looked like a goof even before then. I mean, I don't know, but this is what people like. I can't say Xavier and New Day are not popular, but to me, this has been total trash. I mean, it's been total torture. 6 fucking years, 7 years of New Day nonstop, and that's the worst it's ever been with the King stuff. I mean, it doesn't get any worse than that. Anyway, we'll move on here. We've got Sheamus doing his entrance. And then we go to Xavier cutting a promo. Because we always have to, cut off a wrestler's entrance. So this is going to be a fatal 4-way match to determine who's going to be replacing Sami Zayn. So, you want to cut off all the other entrances. I think there might have been a commercial, and then and it's at the end already, and Ricochet is making his entrance. So we've got Sheamus, Cesaro, Ricochet, and Jinder Mahal. And let me just tell you something. This match was pretty fucking good. I have to say, I really enjoyed this match. First of all, I mean, you've got some pretty good talent in there. Cesaro is overrated, but hey, I'd say he's good. He's a good wrestler, right? I'm just saying, putting all that, hype behind him was a big mistake. Sheamus, I'm a big fan of him. Jinder, same goes for that guy. It was such a pleasure to see Sheamus not wearing that stupid mask. Finally that shit is off of his face. Ricochet, man, let me tell you something. He did a springboard somersault plancha. That was breathtaking. Like, that is a move right there where I guarantee you if anyone did that on the AEW roster, it would have been, whoa! Wow! It would have just been like a total spill, botch on the outside. It would have been a botchamania highlight, but Ricochet does it. Perfectly done, perfectly timed at the right moment where it doesn't look tremendously goofy with guys like, well, hey, let me catch you. It hit at the right moment. And things were like moving here. There was a lot of like who's going to get the pin and everything like that. And, Sheamus hits a fucking brogue kick. Ricochet, like I will say, like I'm not the biggest Ricochet fan. I'm not, I saw this on Twitter because one of my followers, Bernard Scott, I think I'm saying his name right, commented on one of his tweets. So I unfortunately saw one of JD's tweets, and he was complaining about, oh, Ricochet, he's the best wrestler in the world. They don't know how to use him, because like, you have a guy like Sheamus, and he's supposed to lose to a guy like Ricochet. You've got guys that look like Sheamus and Jinder Mahal, and you're supposed to let Ricochet win, when he's the smallest guy in the match. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. But anyway, like, the sell job on the bro kick, he goes like fucking flying up in the air. I don't know, like, you would think something like that would look kind of goofy, but he did it in such a way where, I'm starting to get impressed by this guy. A good match with Drew McIntyre a few weeks back. And then you had this performance. I mean, I think everybody was firing on all cylinders in this one. Then when it came down to Sheamus and Cesaro, Ridge Holland came up onto the apron. He tried to interfere. Sheamus ended up hitting a bro kick, and that was good enough for the win. And I was pretty satisfied by that match. I thought that was a really well done match. So he's joining the Survivor Series match. He's going to be on Team Smackdown. Jeff Hardy is backstage, and he's cutting a promo talking about all the different wrestlers that he's tag teamed with. I don't particularly remember. He mentioned Big Red Machines. I think he was talking about Survivor Series tag team members. I think so. Yeah, because like I think he was like on Survivor Series 2007 as part of that team. I seem to remember that. Like Umaga was in that match. Yeah, I think it was that one. So he was talking about, who he tagged with in Survivor Series. He's running down a lot of the names. And then Madcap Moss and Baron Corbin come in. And of course, they're giggling up a storm because he was talking about how, how this team is not going to be like any other team he's ever been on. And he's worried about Corbin. So they come in to the scene, and Moss cuts this joke that like fucking didn't make any sense. I mean, some of the jokes he was cutting, they were like, terrible, corny jokes that I could kind of somewhat enjoy. But now, like, they have to consult the joke book because this shit that's not good what he said right there. I'm like, he's like, how does he know what color to paint his face, because of his red neck? Like, okay, because it's a color? Like, what the fuck was that kind of joke? Adam Pearce remembers he works there, and he pops in and makes a match with Hardy and Moss. Says, what, maybe you won't be laughing then. So then we cut to Sheamus and Ridge Holland. Sheamus, like, this promo was like a little bizarre. I mean, I was entertained by it, but I don't know, like, Sheamus, like, almost like kind of in a euphoric state, like, so happy. I've never kind of seen him like this. I mean, I have seen that he's been kind of being a bit more exuberant, and I guess that's, like, okay. Like, I want to sort of say a bit more, flamboyant. Not really, like, I don't know. He's just been a bit more, like, outgoing in his promos, and I'm not sure if I'm the biggest fan of that. It adds to the personality and everything, but, like, him doing this, like, fake crying, I'm like, okay, like, I was entertained, so I guess I can't complain too much. It's just a little bit like it was odd. Like it almost seemed, they talk about getting drinks at the bar, and I'm like, it looked like Sheamus had hit the bar early the way he was acting. Like that would have made sense if they showed them at the pub, and I think that would kind of make for a pretty good scene. It's been a while since we visited the Friendly Tap. If we ever get around to those parts again, Tim White's bar. That would be great to see a scene with Sheamus there. Like, why can't we see them? Is it because of the PG rating? Do they not want to show them at the bar? Like, I guess. Anyway, we get Charlotte and Cringy Lynch's little vignette, and, they're making like this is going to be like this big match with a lot of history, and you don't show a lot of the history. Instead, we see... This is the funny thing. I had like a whole thing worked up in my head, like I was going to come on the video last week and make fun of Charlotte's promo. But for some reason, I don't know what it was. I think I was just so pissed off at the show last week. I just wanted to like start doing the Australian accent of Tony Storm. So I just kind of went into Tony Storm mode, and I kind of forgot about the way better part of this segment. And by better, I don't mean like good. I mean like so bad it was meme worthy. Becky, Charlotte's gonna beat me. I had a baby too soon. Like, what were they thinking? Was that her idea? Was that the writer's idea? Like, okay, she had the audience going along with her with this, which was, good, but it was really annoying. Now, I'm starting to think, like, did I say this last week? I don't think I really made fun of it enough if I did. I think I focused too much on Tony Storm. So I apologize for that, because this really deserved, a few moments to talk about and really analyze just how cringy it was. I mean, it's almost like Charlotte said about Cringy Lynch, wow, she cut some cringy promos. How can I match that cringe? Well, you know what? Well, my name actually starts with a C, so, Cringy Charlotte. I like that alliteration, so I'm going to go with that. Cringy Charlotte. Totally worthless match in Survivor Series. Like, okay, like, what was this thing with the Like, why did they think, aside from having the crowd trained to do it, which was impressive in this day and age, to get a crowd to go along with it, it seems like a lot of the numbnuts that were plaguing the crowds pre-pandemic have gotten the fuck out, and thank God for that. And I think that's because a lot of the SJWs, they're the ones big time panicking, about a lot of the, pandemic related stuff. So I think that might have something to do with it. Anyway, I don't know. I just don't think there's as many SJW goofball fans as there were previously. So, it's good that we do have like a classic crowd once again, but like, I'm not saying anything about the crowd. It's the fact that they wrote this segment like that. Like, I mean, this was almost like, I don't know. I've seen more mature material on PBS, to be quite fucking honest. like I don't know what they were thinking. Anyway, this like vignette like did nothing to excite anyone. There was a little bit of stuff with Ric Flair on Twitter. It got a little bit of an ooh and an ah, but that happened on Twitter. It wasn't mentioned here, and so it's not like people get all excited over like heat and stuff. This is the thing. Not everybody looks at the social media, especially if you're not mentioning on the show. So to me, that kind of doesn't count. We talked about this, like about, Baron Corbin and stuff. It's really good when they do that stuff on their Instagram accounts, but let's be perfectly honest. If it's not happening on the show, is it truly canon? Did it happen in the realm of WWE television? And it sort of kind of doesn't. It doesn't, it really, think about it. Same thing with Sami Zayn. I mean, what he does on there, does that really count? No, it doesn't. Unless you're replaying on the show and giving it focus to a mainstream audience. No, I'm sorry, it really doesn't count all that much. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what everyone's talking about. Is it real heat? Is it fake heat? There's not really, the stuff with the belt and everything. Like, is this what people are into? Sorry, that's not going to get me excited for a match. You do a decent build, you make an interesting story, then we'll talk. But this is, you know what? I'll get the Thanksgiving pun in now. We'll talk turkey. Anyway, let's move on. I don't want to be like Madcap Moss and like cutting jokes like that. But then again, that's who I am. But all right, move past that. We've got Shayna Baszler and Natalya defeating Naomi and Aaliyah. And I don't know what happened with the camera angle here, but there was like a fast count, and for some reason, like, the referee was not in frame, so I was like, what the fuck happened? I thought there was like one of those sloppy pins, kind of like we got in the Shayna Baszler Naomi things. Like, all of these matches have been super fucking sloppy. They've been like AEW level bad. And they're not like really bad wrestlers. They're not, especially Naomi. But like, these matches have been just fucking awful and bad. And I mean, at least this one was fast, but like the finish was, not caught on camera properly. And I know they replay it, but does it matter? So it was a fast count. You had a really hot looking ref, this new black chick, and she fast counts, and I guess she was from NXT, as we later find out, but she looks way better than that other goofy ref with all the weird facial expressions. What's her name? The one that Edge had come to Saudi Arabia for Crown Jewel. I've talked about it briefly, but that ref always annoys me with her like weird twitchy faces, like. It's not like she just makes weird, exaggerated facial expressions. Like when a wrestler's in a submission move, she's like, ooh, like, stop reacting like that. Like, some of these referees need to watch Earl Hebner or like speaking of Tim White before. Do we need to like watch like referees now and focus on like, you're not supposed to really react that much. But anyway. We get Jeff Hardy making his entrance. We've got now we got to cut to a commercial. Bruno Sammartino, and I'm like, oh, all right, so we're gonna get a little package here of Bruno Sammartino, at the Garden for Survivor Series. Never mind. It's because it's in New York. It's not at the Garden. It's at the Barclays Center, but. Whatever the case may be, they're like, it's in New York, so it's all the same, just fucking, it's in a completely different borough, for anyone not familiar with New York City, MSG is in Manhattan, Barclays is in Brooklyn, but whatever, I don't think that Bruno has ever wrestled, he might have wrestled in Brooklyn, right? Didn't they hold some events there or something? So that's, I don't know. I wasn't alive back then. I'm not a big, huge, massive wrestling historian that knows that far back. I can remember Attitude Era, Ruthless Aggression. I can't go that far back, guys. Sorry. But, so I'm like, oh, it's a package, and then it's fucking t-shirts. Because, there's been so many people walking around with fucking Bruno Sammartino t-shirts. Probably just as many people will buy that buy AEW shirts. Like, who's seriously, I don't think I've ever seen anybody at the gym wearing a Bruno Sammartino shirt. Seriously, I still see occasionally some people wearing wrestling shirts. I even saw somebody was a few years ago wearing a Kevin Owens shirt. I was like, oh dear God. But anyway, that's besides the point. So it was like, so we interrupted Jeff Hardy's entrance to do this fake out like Bruno montage, and they're like, oh well, you gotta buy his t-shirts. This is not really a montage. Okay, like, all right. Anyway, then we go backstage. It's Sami Zayn talking to Sonya Deville. Zayn is going to be entered into a battle royal with 25 wrestlers because it's Rock 25. It's the 25th anniversary of The Rock, as we talked about before. So what a great way to honor The Rock. Put a bunch of random ass people in a battle royal with absolutely no stakes. And Sonya Deville makes no bones about it. She basically tells them, how would it be to win at the battle royal? It's like, it's kind of like the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. And I think, that is kind of cool. But you probably want to have better people in it except for a bunch of fucking tag teams. I don't know. This is how you honor The Rock. I'm seriously, like, I just felt like Sami Zayn being on the Survivor Series team, his goofball antics would have been so entertaining. It would have been so much better to have him on there than, some of the others. Who else is on that team? Is Xavier Woods on there? I forget if he is or not, but anyway, I don't know. I just thought that was a missed opportunity. But, maybe he'll do some entertaining stuff in this Battle Royal. I think it's probably going to be on the pre-show, to be quite honest. When's the last time they actually had a Battle Royal on a fucking show? Last time the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal didn't even make it onto the pre-show of WrestleMania. It happened on fucking Smackdown. So, I'm pretty sure we're guaranteed to have it on the pre-show. Anyway, the referee comes and tells Sonya, did I do a good job? She acts like she doesn't know what it's about. And I kind of like that, how she played it off. It wasn't just kind of like, oh, good job, and I'll get out of here. It's kind of like she tried to say, like, who are you? You're an NXT ref, and you're a crooked ref, and I don't want anything to do with you. Her acting is still terrible, and I can't get into it, but, whatever. Anyway, we've got Shotzi and Sasha, and they need to get along, and Sonya tells them to get along, and meanwhile Jeff Hardy is in the fucking ring, like, waiting for all this shit to go down. I mean, like, what the fuck? Like, how do they have all this stuff going on? And I seriously hate this formatting. Anyway, we get Jeff Hardy defeating Madcap Moss, and Drew McIntyre is going to be in Jeff's corner this time around, and it's a little short match, kind of surprisingly short. I wish they would do matches like this more often, like Attitude Era style matches where we're just get in and out and done. Good enough action. We see Drew hit the Claymore on Corbin, and Jeff it gets his swanton in. So we get like the baby faces getting in their finishers. It was pretty satisfying. Good moment. It's good to see Jeff finally achieve some prominence. He did get his full entrance. That's the thing. They were cutting out a lot of entrances. So it was good to see Jeff kind of get his entrance. And this was one of the entrances that I didn't fast forward through. Like, I actually wanted to watch his entrance because that's just how much I love Jeff Hardy and seeing him come out there and be charismatic. Anyway, we got Paul Heyman doing a promo with Kayla. Heyman says that he accepts he's accepting the challenge on behalf of Roman Reigns, and this promo was pretty worthless. Like, there was, like, absolutely, positively, like, nothing to it. I'm like, where are they fucking Like, where's Heyman going with this? Oh, the Usos love me. Reigns loves me. Like, okay, like, that's quite enough. I felt like Heyman just had no material here, and he was just kind of rambling on. Like, anyway, up next it was Nakamura defeating Angel Garza, or just Angel now, and I don't understand. Like, this is a feud that I don't get why it's happening. You know, they interfered in that tag match, that Halloween, trick or street fight match with Moss and Corbin. Nakamura and Boogs were going up against them, and Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo, they came out and they attacked them during the match, and now they feel like they gotta have like 1,000 matches between these guys. So here's the singles match, and okay, so we've got Garza getting beat by Nakamura. Humberto does a cheap shot. The highlight for me was when Boogs was doing that weird. He was doing this like weird upside down bear hug waist lock thing, and he was fucking shaking Carrillo. And then McAfee, like, let me tell you something. This show, to me, sometimes would be unwatchable. I can't even go back to Corey Boring Graves, after listening to McAfee, because McAfee is just, I mean, he's the best in years. I mean, this was like, I wish more Ronaldo would have stayed on. But, in a way, McAfee, like, he's just so good on color. He says, like, it looks like he's shaking the change out of his pockets. And I'm like, this guy has a real knack for, like, he just is on. Like, Cole is just, like, so many steps behind him. And I don't even think he gets it. Like, I didn't even catch, like, last week he's doing, like, hip-hop references. Like, this guy is very up on pop culture. Because, this is not an old guy, this is like a younger guy, and he's just, this is why they didn't want to have him at Crown Jewel, because I think they were just afraid what he would say, because this guy, he's off the script. I don't even think McMahon could be in his ear that much, because this guy is quick, he is witty, he is just, he's always in there, like, doesn't miss a thing. Even like, notice, like, even when something stupid happens, he calls it out. Like, he says, like, this and that and this thing. I don't know. I think he's really, like, the fastest rising commentator I think I've ever seen. It just seems like he gets it. Anyway, we get Sasha Banks defeating Shotzi. This match was not bad, actually. I didn't really hate it all that much. Like, there was some little rough spots in it. I didn't really particularly think her getting her arm trapped in the steel steps looked all that vicious. Those little kicks from Shotzi, like, into the steps, it's, if it was, like, during a guys match and, like, Reigns is in there and stuff doing that, then I'm like, I'll buy it. But they're like, no. All I'm looking at basically is just Shotzi look really good here. I'm looking at that. I wasn't really feeling her at first, but I think it was because I didn't really watch her at length, and now I'm like, okay, I don't really mind seeing her on my TV because it's eye candy. She's not terrible. She's not great. Anyway, I will say, Sasha did sell the arm, and she didn't use her arm to apply the bank statement, so she used her leg instead. So that was kind of creative, I thought. They did try to work in some psychology. It seemed like one of the agents back there was, like, doing their job. Like, one of the wrestlers actually says, you guys should probably do a little bit more than just, like, spots in this match. So it was nice to have a little bit of psychology anyway. Then Sonya comes out, old Hatchet Face. Forgot to say her nickname before, but, Hatchet Face gets on there and, like, she looked even more hatchety. Because, it's when she has that really serious look. And she's like, really, like, the face looks like a hatchet. It looks like she could just fucking break a log in half. Clunk. Like, honestly. But she wants them to shake hands, so Sasha puts her hand out. Shotzi shakes it. Then she hits her with the backstabber. And then we get a lot of that bad acting from, like, Sonya rolling her eyes. Like, that's her go-to, roll the eyes. Oh. Like, she's always doing that. Like, it's enough. Okay, we get it. Then we get Reigns in the back saying to Heyman and the Usos, I'm going to go out there and handle this myself, referring to Xavier Woods. Toni Storm starts cutting a promo, and I realize, like, she's not wearing any of her shit. The rocker look is gone. Do not tell me she's going to be coming out at Survivor Series. Now, speaking of that, this is what's really funny. They showed a graphic of the Survivor Series women teams, and they still have Toni Storm in the, like, as a shadow. And Cole said, it's still a shadow because she was just selected yesterday. Does anybody see what's wrong with that picture? She was selected the day before on Thursday. You're watching this on Friday. So you're basically telling your audience your graphics department's too fucking lazy to put Toni Storm's face in there. So they still have the Shadow Mystery Man or Mystery Woman logo graphic on there. Like, are you serious? Like, it's a small detail, but it's so cheap. And Cole calls it out. If you didn't call it out, maybe I wouldn't have even noticed it. But I'm like, they're showing it to us, and it's like, if she's in the match and you're going to advertise this 1,000 times like you've been doing, then fucking put her face on there. Especially if she's going to have this overly long segment in the back. After a while, like, she's cutting this promo, and I'm like, she's still talking? Like, what is this even about? She's talking about this title shot, like, didn't she just get beat? Like in all her matches she had, and she barely even had any matches. Selena Vega, who was like jobbing out for months on end, that was the first person she got a victory over, or the second person or something like that. And I'm like, okay, all right, like, they must really think pretty low of her. But yeah, like, she didn't have any, like, this was gone. She didn't have that. She didn't have the hat, no jacket, no nothing. She came out in the last week. It's almost like they said, okay, get rid of all the character and, stuff that makes her stand out. The Ashley Mazzaro look, as I like to call it. But that was all gone. Charlotte is standing off to the side, and, she says she'll wrestle her after she gets through with Cringy Lynch, and that's that. Like, that was just overly long, and like, I'm just like, she was still talking through that whole thing, and I felt like it was honestly going nowhere. Like, okay, you want the title shot. You could easily say that in like half, like so much less of that time that she used there to say a simple statement. Anyway, we're at the end mercifully, and it's we've got Roman Reigns coming out, and Xavier Woods comes out first, gets on the mic, tells Reigns to come out by himself, and Reigns comes out, but then Heyman starts calling out the Usos. The Usos are not coming. They start getting thrown out one by one out of the backstage area, and it's Big E. Big E comes out, and when Xavier Woods and Big E were like stomping on Reigns, I'm like, these guys look like heels. They're like double teaming the heel. They're beating them down. Like, okay, I understand they eliminated the Usos. It's like payback. But this image of just like stomping him repeatedly, they never like do their baby faces any justice. Like, no one stays a baby face and no one stays a heel. And I get their shades of gray, but like, I don't know. A lot of times they have the baby faces look like bigger heels than the heels look like heels. But whatever. Reigns starts to mount a comeback, gives the Superman punch to Big E, but Big E almost gives him the big ending. Reigns rolls out. That's the end of the show. I mean that, you know, there you go. That's your build up. That's your interaction, because I guess because they did all the interaction before the draft, except no one remembers that. You know, I honestly, I don't know, like, who is excited for Survivor Series. Put it down in the comments below. Does anyone seriously give a shit Survivor Series? Like, who wins? Who loses? You know, the only thing, like I said, that could be exciting is Brock Lesnar showing up, because we know it's going to be the big snooze fest of SmackDown versus Raw. Even though half these people were on Raw, like Jeff Hardy, for example. He was just on Raw. And Big E, who's the Raw World Champion, was just on SmackDown not too long ago. It's so fucking dumb. Like, really, like, these are not, they're making like these are, you know, who's going to care about their brand that much? Because they've been there for like a few weeks? I don't know. People were saying, is this the worst Survivor Series build-up of all time? Like, I don't even know how you judge it anymore. Like, almost all pay-per-view build-ups are bad. You know, like, the only time I ever saw a good build, like I said, was like Seth Rollins and Edge, because it's fucking Edge. And Rollins was really on his A game. So, you know, I just wish they could take that template and apply it to just maybe a minimum of a few other things. That's all I'm asking for, but whatever. You know, all right, it was, you know, this wasn't a terrible, terrible show. You know, I really did like the Fatal 4-Way match. You know, things kind of seemed like they were progressing at a steady pace, but like, just an uneventful night. Just, you know, I didn't really enjoy it. You know, that's what I'm saying. I try to be a little bit positive. I don't want to exaggerate and say it was the worst. My eyes are burning type of thing. But like let's be honest. The show's not worth watching. Am I going to tell people to watch this show just because of one match and the fact that the show didn't completely put me to sleep? No, it's just like, for the standards of like usually what's a bad show, it was okay on that lowest of standards. So there you go, guys. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bells to get all notifications when I post on my new videos. I want to thank all my patrons for your continued support. And thanks again, guys. I will see you next time.